Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to March Madness. It is Sunday, March 16th, 2025, a special edition of the 2KU Weekly Podcast. It's time for Selection Sunday. I'm Trevor Joey 101, joined by Danny V. Basketball has been going on in the background for the past 4 months, and now it's time to meet the teams who will be going dancing. Danny, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're ready here for some Selection Sunday, of course.
All right, just a moment while I get everything good to go.
You just want me to go through the conference championship rounds while we wait?
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead and give us a rundown of the major championships.
I am. So our first championship game was actually the Ohio Valley. Murray State beat Stanford 76-70. Then on that Sunday as well was also the Great West Championship. Texas Pan American beat Cal Baptist. Cal Baptist beat Texas Pan American 56-47. Following up, we have ourselves the A-Sun Championship, where Campbell beats Jacksonville 66-63. Next up is the Big South, as High Point beat Augusta State.
Augusta State.
102-72. Next up, we got Arch Madness, home of the Missouri Valley Championship, where Butler beat Wichita State 99-83. Next up, we got ourselves the SoCon, as UNC Greensboro beats Davidson 79-55. Next up, we got ourselves the Sun Belt, where in their final seasons, we have ourselves 100 Miles of Hate. Western Kentucky beat Middle Tennessee 82-77. Next up is the Summit League, as Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne and beat South Dakota State 68-64. Next up, we got ourselves the Northeast Championship, where Bryant beat Fairleigh Dickinson 87-55. Next up is the CAA, where UNC Wilmington beat George Mason 72-68. Next up, we got Valparaiso beating Illinois Chicago in the Horizon League Championship 78-61. Next up is St. Mary's beat San Francisco 69-61. Very nice score right there. Following that up, we got ourselves yesterday's games, as the American East had.
Oh, you skipped the Wednesday games.
Oh, whoops. Yep, the Patriot League. Sorry about that. Patriot League had John Hopkins beat Lafayette 92-77. Next up in the Southland, we got Lamar barely squeaking past Houston Christian 72-71. Next up is the Big Sky, as Northern Colorado beat Montana State 67-60. Now to the Saturday games. Maine beat Albany in the American East Championship 70-62. Next up, we got ourselves the MEAC, as Howard beat Copen State 68-45. Now, in their first year in the Power Leagues, Houston has beaten Kansas 96-95 in overtime. A spectacular game right there for the Cougs in their first season in the Big 12, beating the great powerhouse of Kansas. Next up, we got ourselves the Mountain West, as Utah State won 92-86 over Colorado State. Next up is the Big East, as Marquette beat St. John's 86-77. Next up, we got Manhattan, who beat our good old friend Foxy's Marist 71-63. Next up in the MAC, we got Akron, who beat Miami of Ohio 76-73. Next up, we got ourselves the ACC Championship, brought to us by Mr. The Pig Bear. Shout out to him.
Hopefully it'll be along the show soon.
Yep. We got ourselves Duke, who beat Virginia Tech 100-89. Next up in the Conference USA, in their final year in the conference, Memphis took the title 92-76 over UTEP. Next up, we got the SWAC, as Alcorn State beat Jackson State 74-65. Next up in the Pac-12, Utah, in their first season in the conference, won it 85-83. In the Big West, UC Davis beat UC Irvine 84-73. In the WAC, Louisiana Tech sends a farewell to New Mexico State by beating them 91-89. Next up is our Sunday slate. In the Ivy League, Harvard beat Princeton 84-81. In the
God, I know it's a car, sorry
A10,
about that.
in the A10, St. Joseph's won 112-78, running away with it like that car by your window.
Yep.
Next up is in the SEC, as Kentucky beats Mississippi Ole Miss for an 83-81 game. Next up is the Gulf Star, where North Alabama beat Austin Peay 83-66. And wrapping us off is the Big Ten, as Indiana beat Michigan in overtime 79-76.
All of these games from the Sunday slate just happened earlier today. Michigan and Indiana just wrapped up. And with that, Selection Sunday is ahead of us. We'll be seeing the bracket for the first time here. We have a bunch of teams on the bubble, some of which had just played. I think some teams to look out for that could be on the outside looking in or inside looking out. The ACC is a huge question mark. How good was that conference tournament performance? Was it enough to sway some of the bubble teams like Miami, Maryland, or North Carolina in or out? Either way, meanwhile, the A10 has had a phenomenal season, but isn't enough for tournament underperformance like Xavier to get back to the big dance. How about Mississippi on a huge underdog run, made it all the way to the finals? Is that enough to get them into the conference championship? Will the Colonial, after the loss of VCU and Richmond, will they get a second team in once again? George Mason played very well. Was it enough for them to sneak into the dance as well? How will the West Coast shake out? San Francisco was on an underdog run, including an upset win over Gonzaga. Meanwhile, St. Mary's dominated the tournament up until that final where they had a close call against San Fran. This was a team that could have been projected to peak out at a number 1 seed. Is that enough? How about Creighton? Are they going to end up with number 1 seed? They've been one of the best teams in the nation, but they performed poorly in their tournament game against Butler, en route to the Bulldogs winning their championship. We have a lot of questions to answer here. Let's get things started with the East Regional. The first matchups here from Washington, D.C., the Verizon Center, hosted by Georgetown. We're going to get things started with the number 1 overall seed. Even with their loss, it's the Kansas Jayhawks, who are number 1 overall. KU will take on the Patriot League, the lowest seed, Johns Hopkins, who are an underdog in their own tournament. And 2 mid-majors face off up next in Butler and VCU. Butler in the Missouri Valley, they won the conference championship. VCU, in their first A10 season, won the regular season title. The Big Ten's Purdue, the reigning national champs, take on Murray State, the Ohio Valley champs, making it back to the tournament once again. Cincinnati is your 5 out of the Big East, taking on a 12 seed in Campbell, returning to the tournament for the first time since 2006. We'll come back to this, but now we'll move on to the other side of the East bracket. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Wells Fargo Center, as hosted by the A10's Temple. We get things started with the number 6 seed, Duke, the conference champions. The conference tournament champions only slotted in as a 6 seed. They'll be taking on a first 4 rep. We'll talk about the first 4 teams at the end of the introduction. Meanwhile, LSU, a 3 seed out of the SEC, taking on number 14, Bryant. The Bryant Bulldogs making their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. Memphis was a big story out of the CUSA. They'll be taking on another underdog run, the SoCon champs of UNC Greensboro. And St. Mary's ends up as a 2 seed, and they'll take on number 15, Manhattan. All right, so that's your East bracket. We'll start with the Washington Regional. Who do you like making it out of this field of 8, Danny?
It's a very fun bracket. As much as I want to say Duke, I kind of have a feeling Cincinnati might make a magical run. First year in the Big East, first year trying to impress. They can have some potential.
Real quick, I'm going to go get this out. Copy this over to the server. The East Regional in Washington, Philadelphia. The Super Regional Sweet 16 Elite 8 will be in Syracuse, New York. For the first time, it's coming to the Carrier Dome. I'll be posting these in scores and schedules on the Type A Joey 101 Discord server. Now, personally here, that 8-9 matchup might be one of the most entertaining we'll see this year. Butler and VCU. Opposite ends of underdog runs. I like Purdue to escape this bracket and return to the Elite Eight. Meanwhile, on the other side, Duke getting a first four opponent. We'll find that matchup out later. Memphis, UNC Greensboro is very entertaining, but St. Mary's has been probably the best performing team as of late in this bracket. I think St. Mary's beats Kansas en route to their first Final Four appearance. Danny?
Right. Yeah, I think Kansas will beat John Hopkins.
Yes. I would hope so, but we're talking about the full East bracket. It's in scores and schedules.
Okay. But out of these teams, I really like St. Mary's. I kind of like them to make a little run themselves.
All right. Up next, we have the West Regional, starting with Anaheim, California at the Honda Center. We have 4 matchups for you, starting with another 1 seed, Indiana. With the win over Michigan locking a 1 seed, they get the SWAC's Alcorn State. Texas and Washington are 2 teams playing in the 8-9. Meanwhile, Utah Pac-12 champs get number 13 seeded Maine, and Auburn out of the SEC gets MAC champions Akron. Who's your favorite to get out of here, Danny?
Can you just pose that in scores and schedule real quick? We can take a full analysis.
Actually, if I do that, I'm gonna get the other half, and then I'll send the full thing.
Right.
To Phoenix.
Out of this half, I do think.
What are you saying?
Wait, can you run through the matches again? It was.
We'll circle back to it. We'll get the other half here first, and I'll post the whole West
Cool.
Regional. To Phoenix, Arizona we go, as hosted by Arizona State. ASU had a deep run. They are sitting on the sidelines, hoping to see if their name will get called. But meanwhile, the 6-11 starts things off. BYU in their first year in the Big 12. They'll be taking on the CAA champs in UNC Wilmington. Arizona out of the Pac-12 gets IPFW Summit League champs. The Mountain West champs Utah State will have a first 4 matchup waiting for them. And the Pac-12 San Diego State takes on Howard out of the MEAC. How about the MEAC getting a 15 seed? They got very lucky thanks to Johns Hopkins in their upset. They managed to slip into a 15 seed for the first time in over 20 years. I like this matchup. I think Howard is the most dangerous of the 15 seeds right now. I'll post the West Regional in scores and schedules here. You have Anaheim and Phoenix, and the Super Regionals will be in Houston, Toyota Center, as hosted by Rice. I think of this bracket, I think Indiana makes it to the Sweet 16. I think they get knocked off by Utah. And I think we have a Pac-12 matchup, Utah and San Diego State, for a spot in the Final Four. I like the Aztecs to make it there. Danny?
Yeah, in the Sweet 16, I think Indiana will meet Auburn in there, actually. And the other side, I believe it's going to be Arizona against San Diego State, for then I believe the championship out of this region will be Auburn against Arizona.
All right, up next, we move to the other side, the Midwest bracket in St. Louis, as hosted by the MVC. We're gonna get things started with another 1 seed. It's Kentucky, the Kentucky Wildcats. Once again at a 1 seed, they'll take on Cal Baptist, who are making their tournament debuts out of the Great West. Iowa State, the 8 seed, taking on 9-seeded Syracuse. 4-seed Notre Dame, regular season champs in the Big Ten. Their stock dropped thanks to a poor tournament performance. However, they still managed a top 4 seed. They'll get number 13 seed in Northern Colorado out of the Big Sky. And Wake Forest in the ACC will take on the Big West's Cal Davis. To the other half we go, to the Denver Regional, starting with our 6 seed Michigan Runners up in the Big Ten tournament, they'll take on the 11 seed, runners up in the A10, George Washington. 3-seeded Gonzaga takes on the Gulf Star champs North Alabama in their NCAA tournament debut. 7-seeded St. Joseph's, the A10 champs, get a first 4 matchup coming up. And 2-seeded Creighton, not enough to get a 1 seed, but it's just enough to get a top spot and a matchup against High Point out of the Big South, also making their big dance debut. They had one of the longest droughts ever since joining in 1999. All right, that's your Midwest Regional with matchups in Denver, or in St. Louis and Denver. The Super Regional heads to Columbus. Nationwide Arena will be the host for it. The bracket is now in scores and schedules. I'll get things started. I think for my Elite 8, I like Notre Dame. They've played extremely well all year. I think they have enough to beat a 1 seed. I like them in a matchup in what might be this tournament Cinderella run. St. Joseph's, I think, makes a press for it. I like Notre Dame to go to the Final Four for the first time in the men's team history with a win there. Danny?
Yeah, to my Elite 8, I think I would really like Kentucky to make it in. I think they definitely have a great chance to make it in. However, if you're gonna ask me for Cinderella, I would probably put my money on George Washington. Sorry.
This has been a great year for the A10, so I wouldn't put it past them. George Washington ended a long tournament drought last season. They lost to that year's Cinderella in Ball State. Can they make up for it this time around as we reach our final regional, the South region? We'll get things started in Nashville as hosted by Belmont. Our final number 1 seed is UConn. UConn was the number 1 overall seed entering conference tournaments. They fell to Marquette in the conference tournament proper, and their stock took a pretty big hit. UConn taking on the Harvard Crimson out of the Ivy League. In the 8-9, Arkansas and Wichita State out of the SEC and Missouri Valley, respectively. Wichita State was projected to miss the tournament. However, with a good performance in conference tournament play, they managed to win their way back in. Clemson, now your highest seeded ACC team, the regular season champs, are a 4, taking on the Horizon League's Valparaiso, sitting on a 13 seed. Meanwhile, the 5-12 Michigan State out of the Big Ten, taking on WAC champs Louisiana Tech. On to the other half of the bracket in Tampa, Florida, as hosted by the A-Sun. Amalie Arena will see our 6-11 in Virginia Tech out of the ACC, taking on another first 4 matchup. St. John's is a 3 seed after a all-time performance. They'll take on Western Kentucky out of the Sun Belt at the 14. 2 unexpected runs in conference tournament play follow that up as Marquette, Big East champs, take on West Coast runners-up San Francisco at the 10 with a good enough performance just to sneak in. And Houston, a 2 seed, taking on 15-seeded Southland champs Lamar. And that is your final regional here. I'm going to add this to the sheet. Nashville, Bridgestone Arena, and Amalie Arena in Tampa. The regional at Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, or your super regional rather. That is your final slot in the big bracket. I'm going to look through this. I think UConn is a dangerous team for anyone to have to face off against. I think they make it comfortably to the Elite 8, and I think they have a matchup with conference foe St. John's waiting for them. Danny?
Yeah, I definitely do think out of at least the first half of the bracket, I do think UConn will have a good chance to win this. But I think in the bottom half, I'm looking at that could be a potential upset alert area, and I think a team that I might have to look out for might be San Francisco.
San Francisco was able to shut down St. Mary's. So imagine what they can do if they get some air under their wings here. Up next, let's look at our first four, the final 8 teams that'll make it to the tournament. 4 10 seeds and 4 11 seeds. We'll let this roll. Here are your final 8 teams in the NCAA tournament. Indiana State will end one of the longest droughts in mid-major history. A 45-year tournament, no tournament drought ended as they are now in. They'll take on New Mexico in the East Regional. To the west, Texas A&M and Miami. Another ACC team sneaks in for the conference. 2 more 10 seeds out in the Midwest. Colorado State takes on UCLA, a future conference matchup, as CSU has the Pac-12 in their sights for 2025. And our final 2 teams, 11 seeds in the South region, Florida, taking on UTEP. The CUSA sneaking in another member. And that's 3 for the Mountain West. And that is your bracket. I believe up next, here is the last 4 in and the first 4 out. Indiana State, Florida, UTEP, and New Mexico are in. Xavier, Mississippi, Arizona State, and Louisville are out. Next 4 out behind that, North Carolina, Alabama, Oregon State, and Ohio State. All 8 of those are sitting outside. Those teams were bubble teams entering the tournament. It was tournament woes for Alabama and regular season woes for North Carolina that kept them out respectively. And Cinderella runs from Mississippi and Arizona State are not enough to get them into the dance. Had they won, they probably would have bumped out UTEP and New Mexico. Are there any... Oops. What do you think about the bubble here, Danny? Did they make good calls here?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, of course, there's gonna be a little bit some controversy, some teams. We all know that. Sorry, so that's a food second throw. But a lot of these teams, they had themselves a great run, and especially in their conference tournament. So some of them might want to argue that they could get in above some other teams. So who knows? If all we gotta see is if hopefully they can use a little bit some chaos.
All right, really quick, let's take a look at our takeaways. After all this, number 1 overall seed, Kansas, will lead our Big 12 surge. The Big 12 ranked number 1 in the conference power rankings. Meanwhile, on the opposite end for the power conferences is the ACC limping into the tournament with only 5 teams and only a 4 seed as the highest among them. UConn is out of the number 1 overall seed, but still remains a 1. Meanwhile, the A10 has had an incredible year this year, and their tournament performance shows. Even with Xavier missing, you have VCU, St. Joseph's, and George Washington all in. Indiana State, we mentioned it, ending a 45-year tournament drought to make it in. This was a team who was super dominant in the late 70s, but ended up falling from grace and had a long drought. Finally ended here. Meanwhile, the opposite is true for North Carolina. They'll miss the tournament for the first time since 2000. And we have 4 squads making their March Madness debut this season. North Alabama, Bryant, High Point, and Cal Baptist. And with that, your bracket is set. How about it? Let me throw something else up here, actually. Where is it? I did have the NIT also ready to go, as well as the women's tournament.
Alright.
Just give me a moment.
Well, that's right now. They're going through the conference championship games and the automatic bid so far. So.
Oh, I'm looking at the tournament right now. Oh my goodness. They're revealing stuff.
Oh.
All right. I'll look back at that later. Well, right now we got a city to burn. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. I gotta add this into the bracket. Add this into the sheet, rather. Your NIT. It's a little small on screen. I'm gonna, real quick, blow this up. So it's a little easier to read. Xavier, Texas Pan American, Texas Tech, and Nevada. George Mason gets Morehead State. Ohio State has UC Irvine. Let me post this in chat as well. Scores and schedules. Catch the NIT only in the 2KU Discord server. Yeah, your first regionals, Xavier, Texas Tech, George Mason, and Ohio State are seeded. Second regional in the NIT, Louisville taking on American. Tennessee has Maryland. Nebraska, Santa Clara, and Arizona State Marist. Meanwhile, let's slide to the other side of the bracket. Zoom in a bit more. Make things a bit clearer. Mississippi takes on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Ole Miss had a good run a few years ago in the tournament. Oh, slide that down. Oops. Where is it? Something's messing up here. Sorry about that. Welcome in, whoever just joined.
It's Mr. Austin.
Please don't tell me we're live.
Oh, we're live.
Yes, we are.
Okay, I was about to say, I stopped myself because I thought we might be live. North Carolina got into the tournament.
What's that?
North Carolina fleeced the committee and got in, and they ranked Louisville as an 8th seed.
Is this real or?
This is real. This is real.
Oh, we were just talking about the actual tournament, or the 2KU tournament, the one that matters for us at least.
The one that matters, the one where North Carolina's not overseeded or in.
Oh, North Carolina for us is out. I don't know if you.
They're out.
Yeah.
Yep, they just announced the.
We just announced it.
Side of the bracket.
All right. Let me get this update. My bad for showing up late. I thought we were starting at 6 o'clock.
I'll go through it since you're here. Let's take it back to. Yeah. I have all the brackets posted in scores and schedules. I'll read you through.
Oh.
I'll read you through each regional, and I'll let you get your opinions in here.
All right.
Starting with the Washington Regional. In the East bracket, the first one on there, Kansas, Johns Hopkins, Butler, VCU. Purdue takes on Murray State, and Cincinnati has Campbell. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it's a solid region. UNCG versus Memphis, that'll be a very good match of the watch.
Oh, that's the other half.
Duke falling. My bad. I just saw the.
We're going to split each one of those in half. So take the top half from that, and we'll start with that.
All right. Just predictions game by game, real quick. Kansas will beat Johns Hopkins.
All right.
VCU falling to a 9 seed is crazy. I guess they didn't win their conference.
They lost in the semifinals to eventual conference champions St. Joe's.
But I think they're still in the equality team. I think they're a Sweet 16. No, they got Kansas. I don't think they'll beat Kansas. But they'll beat Butler, I think. Purdue will beat Murray State, and Cincy will beat Campbell. But watch out for Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I guess we could do our next bracket. That if you're not going to go to Super Regionals, the Philadelphia part, Duke gets the first 4 matchup. Actually, I haven't posted the first 4. I don't think I did.
They just announced the second region.
I'll post the first 4 in just a moment. Duke gets the first 4 matchup. LSU has Bryant, Memphis, UNC Greensboro, and St. Mary's Manhattan. Thoughts on this, Pig Bear?
I think St. Mary's is gonna be a tough team to play. They've definitely had a great season. I think they have a couple wins over some ACC schools. But I'm really high on UNC Greensboro. They've spent their entire half of the non-con beating up on the lower tier of the ACC. Heck, I think they have a win over Wake Forest, if I'm not mistaken, who's definitely in this field. So
I think UNCG will definitely put up a fight against Memphis.
Yeah.
Next, to the West bracket. In the Anaheim Regional, Indiana, Alcorn State, Texas, Washington, Utah, Maine, and Auburn, Akron.
I really like the Tigers as a 5 seed. They did well this season, I think, and they've obviously I dealt with most of the ACC side of things, so I basically can tell you who's won and lost. They have a win over Clemson, and Clemson they're finished probably second best, probably the best team in the ACC. Just couldn't get it done against Duke in the tournament, but I think they can make some noise and give me upset alert. Maine over Utah. I think Maine has the ability to pull that one out, and I think Texas and Washington very balanced teams, and Indiana's very good too.
All right, to the other half of that regional. In Phoenix, BYU, UNC Wilmington, Arizona IPFW, Utah State getting another first 4, and San Diego State takes on Howard.
The city UNC schools have done great for themselves this season. I think they're all forces to be reckoned with. BYU is tough. I'm gonna have to give that one to the Cougs. Arizona will win that one. Remains to be seen from the first 4, but that should be a good matchup. And I think San Diego State will beat Howard.
Now we go to the Midwest bracket. From St. Louis, Kentucky, Cal Baptist, Iowa State, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Northern Colorado, and Wake Forest, UC Davis.
Kentucky, obviously, they're the number 1 seed in this region. I think they'll win easy. Give me Syracuse winning over Iowa State. Notre Dame over Northern Colorado. Then Wake, again, they had a great year this year. They started a little rocky, but they've definitely turned around. They finished second in the ACC. Regular season, yeah, but give me the Deacons over UC Davis.
All right, now to the Denver Regional. Michigan gets George Washington. Gonzaga takes on North Alabama. A10 champ St. Joe's take on the first 4 matchup, and Creighton plays High Point.
Give me Michigan over George Washington. I think GW will put up a good fight, but I just think the Wolverines are too powerful. Give me Gonzaga over Northern Alabama here, and St. Joe's. I think they'll be able to handle whoever the first 4 gives them. And Creighton should roll High Point, but again, watch out. High Point had a good year.
It is their first ever tournament appearance for the High Point Panthers. Nashville.
Welcome, Panthers.
To the south we go. UConn, Harvard, Arkansas, Wichita State, Clemson, Valparaiso, and Michigan State, Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, UConn should beat Harvard, and give me Arky over Wichita State, or Arkansas. I call them Arky. As for the other games in Nashville, I think Clemson should handle Valparaiso. Same likewise with Michigan State, Louisiana Tech. That's not the 5-12 matchup I would predict. Then that Clemson-Michigan State game looks really appealing to me.
Now we move on to our final regional in Tampa. 6 seed Virginia Tech gets a first 4 matchup. St. John's, Western Kentucky, Marquette, San Francisco, and Houston, Lamar.
Virginia Tech definitely played themselves off the bubble and into this tournament solidly at the end there in the ACC. They made it to the final for Pete's sake. And many teams, you wouldn't expect them to be that good because they played a very weak non-con schedule and won all but 2 games, but those 2 games were to West Virginia and Tennessee. I think they should make some noise. St. John's can play very well. They'll handle Western Kentucky. Give me San Francisco getting the upset over Marquette. That will be enticing. And give me Houston over Lamar.
All right, so now we finish with our first 4. Indiana State and New Mexico. The winner of that will go into the East Regional against Duke. Meanwhile, the 10 seeds, Texas A&M Miami winner gets Utah State. 11 seed matchup for the right to, or 10 seed matchup to play St. Joe's, Colorado State, UCLA. And the final first 4 matchup, the Virginia Tech gets the winner of Florida and UTEP. Thoughts on these?
Give me UTEP beating Florida on a bit of an upset there.
I actually need to post these in the chat here.
So
One
North
second.
Carolina's mid-season is what's going to hold them out of this tournament, and looking at the bigger picture, I can see perfectly why it is, because they just fell off a cliff.
This has not been a good year for the ACC, I don't think, because if you look at the bracket, the highest seeded team in the ACC is a 4 seed. That's Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
It's been
And
rough.
Miami not making it either.
Miami's in.
Miami-
They're a first 4 team.
Or 4, I forgot. But so look, you got 1-4, 1-5, 2 6s, and a 10.
It's a rough year, especially in a year where the Missouri Valley, the A10, even the CUSA have multiple teams in the tournament. There was really no room for error for some of these bubble teams. Let me post the last 4 in, first 4 out into the scores and schedules chat. Last 4 in: Indiana State, Florida, UTEP, and New Mexico. First 4 out: Xavier, Mississippi, Arizona State, and Louisville. So North Carolina didn't even make the first 4 out. That's how rough their end of the year was.
Things are definitely need to be a change in Chapel Hill as of right now.
And they just announced the East.
Well,
All
we need
right.
to look at the real. Have we been seeded yet? If we're lower than
No.
a 5, I'm going to crash out. On
No,
somebody.
not yet.
Because if this Clemson team is like 4 wins better than they were last year, and they're a 6 seed again, I'm gonna.
Well, everyone stay tuned later as we're gonna all talk about the real life bracket.
Yes, we're gonna air our grievances with Charlie Baker.
All right. Well, let's run through the NIT since we're here. Xavier takes on Texas Pan American. Every regular season conference champ that didn't make the big dance is in the NIT. UTPA out of the Great West. Xavier and UTPA get the winner of Texas Tech and Nevada. Meanwhile, George Mason and Morehead State take on the winners of Ohio State, UC Irvine. To the next regional, Louisville and American, Tennessee, Maryland, Nebraska, Santa Clara, Arizona State, Marist. Marist was a team people were high on returning to the NCAA tournament. However, they lost in their conference final to Manhattan. Unfortunately for our good friend Foxy Akari. They ended up missing the dance. Meanwhile, Mississippi, a 1 seed against Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the NIT's next regional. Oregon takes on St. Louis. How about we give a whole 21 horn salute to our good buddies in, where is it?
Orlando.
Is it not in this? Where do the server sounds go?
Oh my gosh.
Which one are you talking about? The
I can't use the server sounds for whatever reason.
All right. I'll play it.
Oh, here we are. Yeah, 21 horn salute for our good buddies in the Dave Show Truckers, first year in the ACC. They are sitting on the sidelines for the big dance. However, they made the NIT. They'll be taking on rival Miami, Ohio. Old school rivalry there. Oregon State takes on Albany. Chapel Hill hosts a regional for the NIT as North Carolina takes on Princeton, though IRL they probably wouldn't even go. You know how they
would
are.
complain, and
Well, they got to take their lumps here. Seton Hall takes on Chicago. Baylor, South Alabama, and we wrap with Alabama and my Oakland Golden Grizzlies.
Oakland mentioned.
All right.
I have very fond memories of Oakland in the NIT.
Of course. Let's do the CBI real quick here. This
Did
one.
my Georgia Tech prediction come true? Because
No, because that's not how the 2KU CBI works.
Because I know power teams could accept a bid, but they don't. In real life.
Here's the CBI. Southern Mississippi takes on Northwestern State. Florida Atlantic gets Florida Gulf Coast. UAB takes on South Carolina State. And Cullen Payton gets Oral Roberts. On the other side, Grand Canyon, Montana, College of Charleston, Bowling Green, Davidson, Samford, and New Mexico State, Northern Kentucky. Let's add this to the, actually, I don't think I can, but it's on the server.
Is there the crown in 2KU or no?
The what?
The college basketball crown?
I think that answers your question.
Okay, good.
Anyway, NIT predictions. Who do you guys have making it to the finals?
I like UAB and
That's
Grand
CBI.
Canyon. Oh wait, no, whoops.
Well, there are CBI predictions. Since we're here, Pigbear, do you have CBI predictions?
CBI, give me College Charleston.
McNeese is a
Uh,
12? Sorry, I got distracted.
Oh, we have
Uh,
we play McNeese.
Yes.
We're gonna see Will Wade 2 times next year anyway. But
Also, you didn't post the NIT.
Yes, I did. It should be right above the first four.
where are we playing at least?
My NIT will be. I like Baylor and Louisville.
All right.
I like I really like this Maryland team to make a deep run. I don't think they'll win it, but give me Xavier versus Chapel Hill for the final.
Xavier, North Carolina for the NIT finals.
Yeah.
I have Xavier making it out of that side of the bracket. On the other side, though, I like an underdog run in Seton Hall to make it.
Yeah, I like the.
All right. Real quick, I have to pull up my. Real quick, I have to save and import the women's tournament. But right now, why don't you go ahead and talk about the current bracket?
Ours are real lives.
Talk about the real life bracket while I get stuff set up here.
Clemson versus Will Wade, round 1. Unless he
McNeese.
Could I go donate to the Savage Wolves NIL so I get Wade to NC State earlier than after we pull out a bullcrap win over them?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm gonna go donate my first paycheck that I won't get until the summer to Savage Wolves NIL.
Let's see here. You want me to just tell you each of the regions as of now, Joey?
Yeah.
Yep. In the South, we have number 1 Auburn playing against the play-in game between Alabama State and St. Francis, Pennsylvania. We got 8th Louisville against number 9 Creighton. We got
Louisville
number
should not
5.
be an 8. Louisville should be a 7 or 6 seed.
Yep. We got number 5 Michigan playing against number 12 UC San Diego. Number 4 Texas A&M against number 13 Yale. 6 Ole Miss against number 11 South Dakota State or North Carolina. That's a playing game. Number 3
think
Iowa
it is.
State against number 14 Lipscomb. Number 7 Marquette against number 10 New Mexico. 2 Michigan State against number 15 Bryant.
Mm.
Meanwhile, in the East, we got number 1 Duke playing against the playing game against American or Mount St. Mary's. Then we got 8 Mississippi State against 9 Baylor, 5 Oregon against 12 Liberty, 4 Arizona, 13 Akron, 6 BYU, 11 VCU, number 3 Wisconsin against number 14 Montana, 7 St. Mary's against number 10 Vanderbilt, 2 Alabama against 15 Robert Morris.
Robert Morris got to a 15 seed. Yes.
Yep.
I love sickoness. Were they the ones losing record, or who? St. Francis had a losing record. He made the tournament.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Thursday at what time? Oh, it's in Providence, Rhode Island. Great. We'll be going to the beach on Thursday. So if there was a Conway regional for anybody or a Myrtle Beach regional, I could do that.
I don't think Conway's big enough to host a regional.
Yeah, I mean you can get the people into Myrtle Beach because hotel rooms, but it's not a big enough town.
They don't have a big enough arena.
Yeah, I mean you can play it at Coastal and just call it the Myrtle Beach regional. It's close enough. Have they announced the bottom of the bracket yet? What regions?
All right, let me really quick go through the women's bracket.
So Texas made it.
Yep, it's a playing game, from what I understand. Against Xavier.
So they're going to give South Carolina an at-large bid automatic bid to the NIT. My God, this port is messed up. South Carolina, who won one conference game, is going to make the NIT.
I gotta really try and mash my way to the actual bracket. Because we already did the men's bracket. It's time for the women's bracket. All right, here we are. Women's bracket. Starting with the number 1 overall seed. Who's really surprised to see it's UConn. The most dominant program, potentially in all of college sports. They'll take on the MEAC's Coppin State. Toledo and Gonzaga are next. They're the 8-9. The 4-13 is LSU Troy. And Cal Drake is the 5-12 from the Baton Rouge Regional. Louisville. In Louisville, Kentucky, Texas A&M gets a first 4 matchup. Meanwhile, Louisville takes on Mercer. In Iowa City, Richmond, Princeton, as well as Iowa, Lipscomb. That's your East Regional. The Super Regional will be held in Baltimore, Maryland, as hosted by the Maryland Terps. That's going to go in scores and schedules. Give us a breakdown of what you guys are feeling for this bracket. Danny?
And then
UConn, done.
probably going to be UConn, but there might be some upset alerts.
UConn, heavy favorites to make it out the bracket, but watch out for Louisville. They've given them a tough time both the times they played in the Big East. To the West Regional we go. Number 1 seed Notre Dame taking on Mount St. Mary's. The 8-9 has Georgetown and Oregon State. In the 4-13 it's Georgia and Long Beach State, as Boston College, the 5, gets the 12 of Hawaii. Old Dominion has one of the best records in college basketball, only 2 losses to their name, good enough for the CAA to get 6th seeded against number 11 Colorado State. 3-seeded Duke will host the regional. They get the Summit League's North Dakota State. Ohio State has a first 4 matchup as the 7-10. Meanwhile, USC, 2 seed, will host Montana. The Super Regional is in Seattle. Let me really quick copy paste that into chat. But as I do, I'm going to say Notre Dame looks like the strong favorites. I like them to make it all the way to the Elite 8, but I like USC to make it to the Final 4. As it's in here now. Danny?
Out of this side, a lot of good matchups. However, I am kind of liking... Give me Notre Dame.
Pig Bear?
Give me Old Dominion. Call me a sicko. Call me crazy. I think they've got a decent draw. Duke, I'm a little bit iffy about. But give me Old Dominion making it out.
It would be a huge historical upset for Old Dominion to make it. They haven't made the Final 4 since the very early days. But up next, we go to the Midwest Regional. And we'll see the 1 seed of Baylor taking on the Great West Oklahoma City. An 8-9 between Pittsburgh and Bradley. North Carolina State will host a regional against UNC Asheville as Kentucky takes on UIC. From there to Palo Alto, Virginia Tech gets Pepperdine, and Stanford has Tennessee Tech. Meanwhile, Texas gets a first 4 match. In the Chicago Regional, DePaul plays Lafayette. All right. The Super Regional will be in Detroit, Michigan, as hosted by the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. How about another Oakland mention?
Oakland mention.
Baylor looks like the strongest team here. But I think if there's any bracket that an upset run could happen, I think it's this one. I like NC State and DePaul to face off for a spot in the Final Four. Give me the Wolfpack making it. Danny?
This one might be a little bit of a sicko pick, but give me... I kind of like Texas and NC State to make it through.
Big Bear?
You think that's sicko? Give me my University of North Carolina at Asheville running Bulldogs. I'm kidding. Give me Stanford. Stanford versus Baylor. Give me Stanford winning that one.
We wrap with the South Regional now. Our final 1 seed, South Carolina. No surprises in their positioning there. Meanwhile, they get Grambling State, as well as the winner of Missouri State and Dayton in the 8-9. A great season for the Missouri Valley, all things considered. Oregon and Maine host the Eugene Regional, and they'll get Oklahoma and Furman's winner. Villanova has a first 4 matchup in Ames as Iowa State hosts. They'll play Marist, who made it in the women's bracket. And our final regional in Knoxville, Michigan State takes on CUSA champs East Carolina. Tennessee gets Southeastern Louisiana, wrapping up the bracket. But up next, we have our first 4 as well. But I'm going to post this in chat here. Who do you guys have? I like a classic match. I think South Carolina, Tennessee face off for the Final Four. Give me the Gamecocks punching it in. Danny?
Give me South Carolina and Iowa State.
Big Bear?
Give me South Carolina, Tennessee, but the Vols take it.
All right. The Final Fours this season, the men's is in Indianapolis. The women's takes place in San Antonio this season. But first, let's get our first 4 out of the way for the women's bracket. Auburn and Washington play for a spot in Louisville. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, SMU fighting for the last spot in Los Angeles. IU, Alabama face off in Chicago, and we wrap with 2 non-power squads in Delaware and Portland, scoring off for the final spot in the Ames Regional. So there are your last 8 into the NCAA tournament for the women's side, and that will do it for reveals, at least. I just running through the first 4 matchups real quick. I like Washington over Auburn, SMU over Mississippi State, Alabama over Indiana, and Portland over Delaware. Danny?
Give me Auburn over Washington, SMU over Mississippi State, give me Indiana over Alabama, and give me Delaware over Portland.
Big Bear?
Give me Auburn over Washington, Mississippi State over SMU, Delaware over Portland, and Alabama over Indiana.
And that does it for our reveals, at least.
Here's why the NCAA sucks. So George Mason can win 25 games, but North Carolina goes 1-12 against quad 1 schools, and gets an 11 seed.
Oh yeah, they just announced the rest of the bracket.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can let me see if you can post it in chat. I'll see if I can get it on screen.
Also, we should do a 2KU bracket challenge, like where we can, yeah, I'll print it out and just, or make a copy of each image and put my predictions in.
I have a bracket ready.
Oh yeah,
I think
Send it
there's
all
some. I
over.
think there's some contradictions for my from what I said to what I think will actually happen.
okay, so you have the grand results.
These aren't the final results, obviously. This is just prediction. These are just my predictions.
Mm.
We'll be having another stream later where we simulate the results.
Right.
But my projection is in here. It's a little small, but hopefully you can make it out. If I run, I'll run through it real quick. I have Kansas and LSU facing off in the East region. KU beating LSU. San Diego State, Utah I have in the West. The Midwest, I have Creighton and Notre Dame. And I have UConn, Houston in the South. My big underdog run, I think, could be UNC Wilmington as an 11. I have them in the Sweet 16. Iowa State, I also have making the Sweet 16 with an upset win over Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Post that in chat, and I think that'll actually wrap us up here, unless we have anything else to share.
Nothing else besides
No.
you want to go through the other games that were just announced.
As soon as we can actually get the actual NCAA bracket, we can run through that real quick.
Got that. I can get that real quick.
All right.
There's your print.
Yep. LSU and South Carolina will be in the NIT. Why?
Why?
'Cause they-
It's basketball.
Again, like 11 win South Carolina NIT.
Remember, they
Oh,
gave up regular season conference champs making it to the NIT for this.
The South Carolina will not go to the NIT. They.
I remember somebody once said that NC or conference tournaments are stupid. And I gotta pull up the reason why. Let me see.
A North Carolina fan I followed just tweeted the committee made a mistake and hashtag we coming.
Let me look this up. Yeah, here's the post. This is from 2 weeks ago. I found this when I was trying to look up the conference tournament schedule to get that set up. Conference tournaments should not exist, and here's why. I won't say their name, in respects of keeping them anonymous, because some takes you don't deserve to be called out for however bad they are. This is a bold take, but and I quote, "This is a bold take, but honestly feel I'm 100% right when I say conference tournaments are practically useless. All it does is add further meaningless games to the schedule and can lead to teams who don't deserve a sniff at March Madness getting thrown headfirst into the tournament because they chose to not be terrible for a stretch of like 4 games out of 34. Also, as a bonus, you already play everybody in your conference once or twice, so that we'll know who the best team in the conference is, so there's no need for conference tournament to tell us who it is, because we already know that the top team in the conference should be heading to the tournament no matter what. But instead, they chose a format which leads to the best teams in their conference being given practically nothing for their hard work just because one conference loss after 16 to 20 conference games of hard work and dedication to be top their conference. it just feels so frustrating to see we don't get the top conference teams in, and instead we get in place mid-major conferences who don't send their best teams, who inevitably get curb stomped in the tournament, which could easily be healed at least a bit by conferences sending their true best teams. Question. What?
This man does not like this man does not like the madness.
Someone, Chillinois 1, who I will shout out because they have a good take. UMBC was a 2 seed when they beat Virginia in 2018. Oregon State was a 6 seed when they made the Elite 8 in 2021. Oral Roberts was a 4 seed when they made the Sweet 16 in 2021. St. Peter's was a 2 when they made the Elite 8. FDU was a 2 when they beat Purdue. Princeton was a 2 when they made it to the Sweet 16.
FDU didn't win the conference when they beat Purdue. They just they got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NC State was a 10 seed when they made the Final Four. None of these moments happen if these teams don't win their conference tournaments. This is just in the last 6 tournaments. Oh yeah, so Pope March responds about Kemba Walker giving UConn 5 wins in 5 days. Someone else responds, we already know half the teams in the NCAA tournament don't have a shot. Should we shrink back to 8 or 16 quote-unquote legit teams?
No, who doesn't like madness? Who doesn't like craziness?
Someone else in the replies responds, yes, 16 teams is all you need. None of this March Madness. Which, I have no idea why on earth you would want to take March Madness away.
This is my favorite time of the year.
Why is Brady 11 responds, why do you hate fun?
All right, so Operation Send Will Wade to Raleigh as fast as we can begins today.
BDO
Send
stream.
Will Wade to Raleigh soon enough so we can play him in 10 months.
Video Strem 00 says the people that want to take away games like conference tournaments and bowl games are the worst. Why do they hate entertainment? How are they meaningless games when there's a meaningful prize for winning most conference tournaments?
It's like they've been listening a lot to Josh Pate.
Josh Pate.
Yeah, this sounds like a Josh Pate take.
All right. Someone blurt me out real quick. Josh Pate can go and.
I don't know what you wanted me to do.
Is there like a bleep button?
I have a bleep, but it only works on my end. Like if I were
Oh.
to say, then it would be censored.
All right, so Josh Pate can. Never mind.
Again, it only works on my end.
Josh Pate can off.
Shouts to Pate State Freights. They are in D2
They are a D2 school.
in 2KU. Do we have the bracket?
I'm trying to get a good image of this.
So go Aztecs. Did West Virginia not get in?
No, they're out, I think.
Wow, they let Carolina in, but not West Virginia. Wow,
Actually, let me put this on screen here.
There you go.
that is the most bullcrap thing ever. Are we still live? Can I curse?
Yes.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, do you mind me cursing? Because I'm you know what?
I do.
Okay. Most bullcrap, whatever you want. That a
Dog
West Virginia
water.
Team who's actually, dog water. Who actually beat decent teams gets left out, but North Carolina, who went 1-12, got their you know what's whacked at Little John. Lost to Duke 3 times. When that guy stepped in the lane, their season should have been over. North Carolina should not play basketball again until November after that guy stepped in the lane against Duke.
There we are. Now it's on screen. Let me resize it here. There we go.
Oh, Big Bear, you're gonna like this, but South Carolina declined.
Yeah,
the
I saw.
invite.
I'm on Twitter right now.
You're on Twitter.
I
Cringe.
should make a Blue Sky account.
You should.
I'll be the only burner on Blue Sky.
Follow Type by Joy on Blue Sky.
I love how like I criticize Elon Musk, then like half my screen time's on Twitter.
Okay. All right, Auburn, Alabama State, St. Francis, Louisville, Creighton. I'll just go through what I think is going to happen. Give me Creighton, Auburn. UC San Diego was eligible?
Yep.
Give me Michigan, TAMU. Give me San Diego State.
Just a reminder
Let's
of this: there are more Big East and Mountain West teams in the March Madness than there are ACC teams.
I hate the ACC.
Man, it's just like 2KU.
Yeah.
Oh, Cupcake Conference.
The Clemson very good conference.
Meanwhile, Big 12, Big 10, and SEC got a lot of teams.
The all Clemson conference.
All right.
So we had
Beef
Where did I
jerky.
leave off? Yeah, give me San Diego State, Iowa State, Michigan State, New Mexico, Florida, UConn. UConn's an 8 this year?
Because they lost in the conference tournament.
Memphis, I think Grand Canyon gets another upset. Drake, Texas Tech. Kansas. This is 7, damn.
the 7th seed.
7, or Kansas and St. John's.
Yes, Kansas is a 7th seed, but Clemson's a 5 seed. I'm
Why is
still mad about that
Baylor
2016 game like 5 years ago.
Duke,
20
Mississippi State, Oregon, Arizona, VCU, Whiskey, and St. Mary's, Bama. Houston, Gonzaga, Clemson, Purdue, Illinois. Let's get Illinois, Troy because it rhymes, and Utah State, Tennessee.
Illitroy.
All right, I'll go. I'll see you when we get the entire tournament.
Well, that's all my first round ones.
All right.
We can just talk
Auburn.
about what?
Yeah, Auburn, Louisville, Michigan, TAMU,
Uh-huh.
Ole Miss, Iowa State, New Mexico, Michigan State, Florida, Oklahoma. Call me upset here. Maryland, Missouri, Texas Tech, Kansas. No, Kansas, St. John's. Not bad. I feel like I'm Texas Tech. Yeah, Texas Tech, Missouri. Duke, Mississippi State. Baylor made it in with under 20 wins. Seriously. Oregon, Arizona, BYU, Wisconsin.
Yeah, people are already calling out North Carolina. That's funny.
Vanderbilt, Alabama. Houston, Georgia, Clemson, McNeese. Clemson, Purdue. Give me Texas actually beating Illinois. They're pretty fraudulent. Kentucky. Yeah. Texas, Kentucky. Tennessee, Utah State.
think for my, I'll just skip ahead to Final Four. I think my Final Four, I have St. John's. I have I like St. John's, Michigan. I think St. John's, Michigan, Arizona, Houston. I think that's my Final Four.
All right.
This will probably end up
Give me-
changing when I actually do my tournament in full.
Give me Alabama, Clemson, Florida, and Auburn. I think Florida and St. John's will be the Elite Eight matchup for that.
Danny, send us home with your Final Four.
The relay bracket or
Real life bracket.
give me Florida or like Florida, Houston, and then Bama and you know what? Give me Michigan. Why not?
All right. And that'll do it for us here. Real life and 2KU brackets are ready to go. Join the Taipei Joy 101 Discord server for updates on all of their sports, as well as don't forget to stay tuned to this channel, as we'll have March Madness coming to you at a later date. Thank you all so much for watching, and so long from the 2KU.